Welcome to Spark Joy, the podcast dedicated to celebrating the KonMari method and the transformative power of surrounding yourself with joy and letting go of all the rest. With your hosts and certified KonMari consultants, Kristyn Ivy and Karin Sochi. And now, here's the show.
It's been a very exciting time for Spark Joy podcast. Our audience has grown since the beginning of the year and since the release of Netflix Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. As KonMari Consultants, we've gotten so much positive support and feedback from clients and colleagues and family members and friends. And of course, you, our listeners, have also shared your moments of joy. To celebrate, we have a very special announcement. But before we get to that, we should take a moment to mention what's sparking joy for us in terms of the media.
In addition to getting lots of new interest in the work that we do with clients, we have both been featured in several media outlets, and we've been hitting the speaking circuit. I was featured in an article in Money/Time magazine, which was awesome because they linked to the Spark Joy podcast. I was also in an article in New York Magazine talking about the KonMari method for storing and organizing books. And as we know, books have been a hot topic in KonMari land recently. And then I was profiled in a blog that's local to New York City called the 6 Square Foot blog, which is kind of a take on the size of apartments in New York. So that was really exciting and really an honor.
And I was featured in the Huffington Post, sharing tips about how to apply KonMari to work and career. I also got a really big surprise when Tess Wicks, who we've had on our show, she has the Wander Wealthy podcast. When I went on her show to talk about KonMari and For the Love of Tidy, I referenced a particular budget tool that was my favorite, which was YNAB. You need a budget. So I was so shocked when all of a sudden I heard from Tess again, and she said that my particular episode was featured in the YNAB newsletter. I had no idea that was taking place, and I really geeked out because I've been using that budget tool to keep everything tidy in terms of my finance for years. Also, I've really enjoyed taking the message of KonMari 101 to the streets and specifically the Chicago area. I've ran the Tidy Tour Chicago since August of last year, and it's become even popular now that the Netflix special has really inspired people to start their tidying process and get acquainted with KonMari. I probably know more than I ever want to know about Chicago's clutter problems. I've definitely visited at least 20 libraries at this point, and there's a total of 35 visits, and I'll be closing out the tour in March. It's going really, really well, and it's been so fun to really engage with the unique challenges that I hear about during the Q&A sessions of each visit and stop of the tour. Yeah, it's just been really well received.
So, and more to come. I think we both are really excited about what's coming down the pike as far as different opportunities to spread the message of KonMari and the love of the work that we do. We have something super special to share with you today, and we're pretty excited about entering a new era for the Spark Joy podcast.
But first, what's sparking joy for you, Karin?
Well, this one was pretty easy this time around. I didn't have to think too much about it because this was just something I did today. I love fresh flowers in the apartment, especially this time of year. I think it's so important to bring a little nature, a little beauty in. If you know anything at all about New York, you know about delis. Delis are like on every corner, every block. And there is such a thing called deli flowers. Well, deli flowers is kind of a derogatory term for flowers because the flowers that you find at delis are usually old and don't last very long. They're very inexpensive, but they're everywhere and they're very easy to get. So for most of my New York City life, I have had deli flowers in the apartment. I finally decided that I was going to kick it up a notch and invest in getting weekly flower delivery from a real florist, which is very exciting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing not going crazy. I'm not going to have like these enormous arrangements all over the apartment, but just one little arrangement to sit on the counter. I'm making adjustments in my own budget to feel like I can justify doing something like that. But I think at least for the winter months, it's really important to have a little bit of extra special beauty around. So that's what's sparking joy for me. What about you, Kristyn?
Well, I also have a delivery story to share. I started to use Instacart, specifically calling on Instacart Aldi. So not only am I saving money by shopping with Aldi, I'm saving a lot of time and energy that it takes for me with no car to get over to Aldi down the street. I solved the problem. I love to simplify my life. I love to design my life in a way that is efficient. And I realized that I tend to Uber my way back home or just find alternative ways of getting home that have expenses related to them. So I found that just using Instacart for grocery delivery is so much simpler. It keeps a record of what I frequently buy. Everything comes right to my door, up the steps and everything. So it's super simple.
As you were talking, I was thinking about how interesting it is that neither one of us own a car. Both of us being city girls, decided as soon as I came to Manhattan many years ago that I was just never going to own a car here in the city. And it's interesting because there's all kinds of benefits to not having a car, but it also makes things a little more complicated. And you have to think about things like how will you get food and supplies in? How will you get places? How will you go to your clients? Unfortunately, both of us are in cities with a great public transportation, but it is kind of an interesting phenomena. And I guess that's probably something that a lot of our listeners can't relate to because I guess most of the country, you own a car. So it's kind of interesting. You have to think about things like getting things delivered.
Even if it's something as simple as the folding sheets that I give away to those who participate in the Tidy Tour. I used to pick them up from the store, and then I realized that they also have free delivery.
Wow.
And they get pretty heavy when you print out like 600 of them. So I was thinking the other day, this is the last time I'm taking public transportation in to get over to Lakeview where I get them printed. It's simpler in a sense, but you also just have to take the next step sometimes of thinking about how am I going to operate without a vehicle. I haven't run into a situation where I've regretted it. So
Sure.
Yeah, and I've definitely used rental services. I used to use Enterprise and now I use Get Around, which is a car share service that I absolutely love. I call the car that I rent my car at this point because I feel like I'm probably the only one that rents it. I'm just, making my way through the city, whatever way I can, car free. And so far, so good. I think I'm coming up on maybe a year without my vehicle.
Wow. So it's been pretty new for you. That's really interesting. I literally have not driven a car since 2001.
Oh, wow.
Which sounds crazy, but it's true. So we have something that is sparking joy for both of us. The Spark Joy podcast has hit 700,000 downloads,
Woohoo.
which is amazing.
Yes.
Very exciting. And plus, we've gotten so many letters and questions, so many new subscribers, so many new followers on Facebook and Instagram. It's just really been overwhelming in a really positive way. But we barely keep up sometimes with some of the emails, but just keep them coming because we definitely will be featuring your questions and your dilemmas and your comments in upcoming episodes.
All right. So now it's time for our big announcement. We're inviting all Spark Joy podcast listeners to support us by joining the Spark Joy Club. This will be a brand new membership-only group that we'll be hosting via Facebook, and it will have a very, very special purpose.
Kristyn and I will be popping into this group on a regular basis to answer your tidying questions in real time. You'll also be surrounded by other listeners and our existing and future clients who all have the goal of going full Kondo, as they say on CNN.
You'll get a chance to mix and mingle and learn from fellow listeners, as well as some of our existing and active clients who are further along on their KonMari journey. There's 2 tiers, and here's how it works and how you can get involved. So let's say you just want a little something extra without the full commitment. You can join the community as a Joy Riser. This will get you a personal thank you from us for your support that will appear on Spark Joy Podcast and in the show notes as well during the month that you join. You'll have access to the custom Spark Joy episode map and listening guide. That is updated actively following every single episode. And this tier is an investment of $3 per month.
Then let's say you're ready to go all in and join at our top tier level as a Joy Sparker. At this tier, you get everything offered at the Joy Riser level, plus full membership in the Spark Joy Club, which is going to be our private membership group on Facebook, and a copy of the Tidy Home Joy Journal. And this tier is an investment of $5 per month.
Let me tell you about this Joy Journal. It was originally something that I created for the Love of Tidy clients way back when I first started practicing KonMari after receiving formal training in 2016. I started drafting something that can serve as a guidebook as someone is tidying along the way, either with me or independently. Over the years, I continued to vet this tool with various clients until I got it to a point where I felt that it was totally baked as an official tidying companion. So if you're out there thinking about KonMariing or already tidying and you're feeling a little bit stuck on a particular category, or you realize you need to loop back to your vision, or even focus a little bit more on how to plan your tidying event, this is the journal for you. It is packed with step-by-step guidance, exercises, checklists, and resources that point you in the right direction. I know that all of our listeners may not be in a place where they can commit to having a KonMari consultant visit them regularly. I created this tool so I can give those moving through their journey the opportunity to really hear about tidying from my perspective, as if I was right there with you.
So one of the things I really like about this whole idea is that it's really pulling everything together for our listeners. So we have the podcast, we have the support of the Spark Joy Club, we have the Joy Journal that will assist people who are going down the KonMari path with their journey on a lot of different levels. And of course, it's all a supplement to whatever else you might be doing with a consultant, or if you're just following along in the Marie Kondo books, or however you're approaching your own KonMari journey. All of this will tie things together for you in what we believe is going to be a really great comprehensive package.
We are so excited to bring the Spark Joy Club to our listeners. So many of you have been with us since the very beginning, and your questions, your comments, and your support have guided the track and the path and the development of our show.
So if you commit to the Joy Sparker tier, you'll be personally invited to join the Spark Joy Club Facebook community, which is going to be officially launched in February of 2019.
In addition, you'll immediately receive instructions on how to get your copy of the Tidy Home Joy Journal via Amazon.
So how do you join us? You head over to sparkjoypodcast.com and click on Join the Club in the menu. Of course, we will also have a link in the show notes. So please head on over to check it out. We are so looking forward to seeing you in the Spark Joy Club.
So now we want to hear from you. Tell us your burning tidying questions or share stories about how KonMari has impacted your life.
You can find us at sparkjoypodcast.com and click Ask Spark Joy to leave a question or comment for a chance to be featured on next week's show. You can also join the discussion on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at the handle @SparkJoyPodcast.
Thanks for tuning in, and we hope your day sparks joy.
Thank you for listening to Spark Joy with your hosts Kristyn Ivy of For the Love of Tidy in Chicago and Karen Sochi of The Serene Home in New York City. Spark Joy, the podcast, is not endorsed by or affiliated with KonMari Media, Inc. The opinions expressed on this episode represent the views of the co-hosts and guests alone and do not represent the corporate position of KonMari Media, Inc. or the KonMari Consultant community.